Sam Altman and OpenAI talk a big talk. They say the technology they're rolling out could transform society for the better. It could cure deadly diseases and perhaps make work obsolete. And that story has brought in tons of money. In recent weeks, the company has signed up to a number of deals valued at an astonishing $1 trillion. Now, these deals with companies like Oracle, NVIDIA, and AMD will allow the company to invest in the computing power they say they'll need to reach AGI, or artificial general intelligence. And Sam Altman, just last week, laid out some noble outcomes these massive investments might achieve.
My own personal equivalent of the Turing test has always been when AI can do science. That is always that is a real change to the world. And for the first time with GPT-5, we are seeing these little examples where it's happening. You see these things on Twitter. It made this novel math discovery, and did this small thing in my physics research, my biology research. And everything we see is that that's going to go much further. So in 2 years, I think the models will be doing bigger chunks of science and making important discoveries. And that is a crazy thing. That will have a significant impact on the world. I am a believer that to a first order, scientific progress is what makes the world better over time. And if we're about to have a lot more of that, that's a big change.
Now that sounds great. I'm all for curing cancer. Surprise though, OpenAI has attracted $1 trillion in private investment, and they need to prove they can get a return on that investment, right? And how do tech companies make money? It's not by investing all their time in trying to cure cancer. No, they steal our attention. That's how they get the big bucks. That's how you're going to pay back those investors, is stealing our attention, getting us to use more and more of their product, to spend more time staring at ChatGPT. And on Tuesday night, Sam Altman, I think, really surprised no one when he tweeted some updates to ChatGPT. So this is the first part of the tweet from Sam Altman. So he said, "We made ChatGPT pretty restrictive to make sure we were being careful with mental health issues." Of course, it's a company associated with being careful. "We realized this made it less useful, enjoyable to many users who had no mental health problems. But given the seriousness of the issue, we wanted to get this right. Now that we have been able to mitigate the serious mental health issues and have new tools, we are going to be able to safely relax the restrictions in most cases. In a few weeks, we plan to put out a new version of ChatGPT that allows people to have a personality that behaves more like what they liked about 4.0. We hope it will be better. If you want your ChatGPT to respond in a very human-like way, or use a ton of emoji, or act like a friend, ChatGPT should do it, but only if you want it, not because we are usage maxing." It's this way of the way he's very tweet. Obviously, you can trust us. We're not trying to get you to just spend as much time as possible on ChatGPT. We don't even want you to use ChatGPT very much. We just want you to have a really good, interesting, fulfilling life. Yes, we believe you, Sam Altman. Of course, the background here, if you remember, is people going into these psychotic episodes because ChatGPT had told them that their deluded ideas were brilliant, and that actually they were the only person who could see that we were really living in the matrix, and that they should cut out any association they have with their family because their family don't know the truth and only you know the truth. And this led to some really difficult situations as people suing OpenAI for what they allege is its role in the suicide of people, because this has driven people crazy. I think those probably are extreme cases. I think much more likely, if you make it speak to you in this very human-like way, is that people will develop relationships with this instead of real humans, and that has all different kinds of problems with it. This was all just a prelude, though, because the real announcement in this tweet from Sam Altman in terms of how this company is going to make money, that's obviously not how he phrased it, but how I interpreted it, was this. "In December, as we roll out age gating more fully, and as part of our treat adult users like adults principle, we will allow even more, you guessed it, erotica for verified adults." Barry, I think we could see this coming, but is $1 trillion being invested into a glamorized porn bot?
$1 trillion porn bot, the mind boggles. Some men will never leave their houses again. I mean, no, I'm not surprised. It was always heading in this direction, wasn't it? Because, do we remember that OpenAI started as a non-profit? That seems like a really long time ago, and it really isn't. But this is what it's always been about. It's always been about money. And as you say, the money that's been invested in OpenAI and in other companies is huge. It's mind-boggling amounts of money. And so far, not only have they shown no return on investment, but they don't seem to have much of a roadmap towards return on investment. You know, they had all these lofty claims. They're going to cure cancer. They're going to solve climate change. They're going to replace 90% of knowledge work. You know, Altman said that the invention of AI was comparable to the invention of electricity. And, you know, those of us who use ChatGPT, I confess I do sometimes, know that it hallucinates all the time. It makes things up. Sometimes it can't seem to do basic maths. I mean, it's a long way from curing cancer and solving climate change. And so now I think they're looking to make money. They're looking to find a way to reassure their investors, because talk of a bubble is growing and growing. Personally, I think it is a bubble. I think it looks a lot like a bubble, given the amount of money that we're seeing invested. You know, a bubble bigger than the crypto bubble, a bubble bigger than the metaverse bubble. I think that this, you know, has all the hallmarks of potentially being a bubble as disastrous as the dot-com one in the mid-90s. And you're absolutely right. It's all about attention. It's all about engagement. They want people to use it more. They want people to pay for subscriptions. And what better way than with this really, I actually think, dystopian scheme to have people, you know, because they won't just be consuming porn, they'll be building what they think are relationships with an AI. And, you know, I'm sure many people have seen the movie Her, which now seems quite prescient, but I think that's really, really scary. I don't want to sound like a Luddite, but I'm finding myself increasingly anti-AI. I'm developing a visceral loathing for generative AI. But then you have much scarier things going on, like, you know, whatever about OpenAI introducing porn, you know, OpenAI making deals with the US military, or Palantir making deals with the British Army. You know, they're really scary potential directions that AI can go in. So I hope it's a bubble. And I hope that the investors lose their shirts so that this AI race will stop before it has incredibly negative impacts on the world.
Yeah, I mean, I, as I say all the time on the show, I differ with the people who say this is all, you know, nonsense, AI, it's all a scam. I think that the technology behind this is transformative and is going to be revolutionary. And it might well at some point cure cancer. I don't dismiss that possibility. I think it's very much possible. But I think what we're seeing now is what actually Sam Altman said a few years ago. He was saying that AI is going to be such a powerful technology that it shouldn't be left in the hands of private individuals. And lo and behold, he's got some power, he's got some money. Maybe he was lying all along, to be honest, actually, because I think that's quite possible. But he now is sort of the epitome of what happens when you do concentrate power over AI in the hands of a profit-hungry private individual. Because, you know, if this had been public investment or something along those lines, then we could pour this money in and say, please focus on curing the cancer. Or even, private tutors for young people. I use AI when I'm sort of reading a bit of text and I'm saying, I don't quite understand this. Can you sort of explain it to me? And then it does break it down quite well. I do it instead of Google searches, actually. I always make sure I check it before I put it in a script. You can ask it. You can say, you have to give me, a link to all of these things. And that does make it a bit more disciplined, makes it less likely to hallucinate. But it is like having, another researcher. It's useful. I think that the technology is phenomenal, actually. But if it's controlled by a powerful tech billionaire or tech company who is desperate to get back as much profit, as much revenue as possible, then the energy is not going to be driven towards curing cancer or private tuition. It's going to be towards stealing our attention. And yes, porn, right? And what you do, if you're desperate for quick bucks, what do you turn to? Porn, which seems to be the position we're in already with OpenAI. This was supposed to be the company that would be the guardian of this important, valuable new technology. and not debase it immediately, not use it just for exploitation and for manipulation. But it seems like we're immediately going in that direction. And I mean, I've seen lots of people say this, and I think it's true. If Sam Altman really thought we were going to get to AGI sort of very quickly, the kind of technology that would replace all work and would cure all of these diseases, I think he probably would hold out a little bit longer before going for the porn bot. So probably, I'm probably extending my timeline a bit for something along the lines of AGI because of this and a couple other things we've seen over the past few weeks.